Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be looking at another kind of science fiction lesson related to aliens.
That's right. And I think in this lesson, we'll actually have an alien sighting here at English Pod.
Right, an alien encounter. So we're going to be learning about the stars. We're going to be learning about aliens and UFOs today.
That's right. And we're also going to learn some language that you can use to describe negative results, things that happen that are bad.
That's right. So let's start by looking at vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Okay, we have two words for you that we're going to hear in the dialogue. And the first one is constellation.
Constellation.
A constellation.
All right. So we've all looked up in the sky and seen shapes or figures that are formed by the stars.
That's right. So a constellation is a group of stars that makes a shape and has a name.
Right. There are a total of 88 known constellations. So the most popular ones, I think, maybe are the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, etc.
I never knew you were such a fan of astronomy, Marco.
A little bit.
All right. What about the next one?
The next one is Earthlings.
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 So Earthlings are people who live on planet Earth.
On Earth, exactly.
Yep.
And in the dialogue, we're going to hear greetings, Earthlings.
This is the most typical phrase that you will hear in almost every single alien movie.
Exactly. So it's like saying, hello, people from Earth.
Yes, every single alien in the world says this phrase.
So those are the two words that we are going to find in this dialogue today. So why don't we start and listen to what happens with our UFO experience.
Oh, honey, this is so romantic. I've never seen like so many stars before. It's beautiful.
See that constellation there? That's Orion. And the very bright star? Well, it's not a star because it doesn't blink. That's actually Venus.
What's that, big flashy one?
I don't know. I think it's a UFO.
Greetings, Earthlings. I come from afar, from a distant galaxy known only to a few.
Why are you here? Where did you come from?
We have been observing you for the last 3,000 years. We have seen the amazing capacity that humans have to create such wonders as the Taj Mahal or masterpieces such as the Hafner Symphony. Unfortunately, your intelligence and creativity does not come without consequence. Your ambition and desire for more will be your downfall, and we are here to save your planet from you.
You think you have us figured out? What gives you the right to come and judge us? Who are you to play God with our fate?
Silence, human. It is that belligerent attitude that has caused years of pain and anguish among yourselves. Now you will pay the price.
Well, that didn't work out so well for the Earthlings, now did it?
I think the aliens are a little bit belligerent themselves. All right, so why don't we start by looking at some of those difficult words that we might have found in this dialogue in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, well, the aliens are using a lot of language to describe some of the negative results that are happening because of the humans' behavior on Earth, right?
Right.
And so one of the things they said was that your intelligence and creativity does not come without consequence.
Consequence.
Without consequence.
All right, so the consequence of an action are basically the results.
Yes, exactly. And here the phrase without consequence suggests the negative results.
All right, so the negative results from your actions. Very good. What about our next word?
Well, the aliens also talked about human ambition.
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 So what is ambition exactly?
So ambition is the desire or the want for things to be better, to improve, to get rich, to be technologically advanced.
Okay, so to want more.
Yep.
You have ambitions in your life, in your professional life, in your
Yeah.
personal life. So basically we have ambition and we have desires, and these are the reasons for our downfall.
Okay, so downfall
Downfall.
will be your downfall.
So the downfall of something is,
Something that causes failure.
okay, so the loss of wealth or the loss of reputation or that it gets ruined.
Exactly.
The downfall. We can say, like, for example, the downfall of the Roman Empire.
Or you know what? This guy is a great employee, but his lack of ambition was his downfall.
Very good. All right, coming up to our next word. The alien described that humans have a belligerent attitude.
Belligerent.
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 All right, this is a very nice word. So why don't we listen to some examples of how we can use it in context?
Example 1.
Don't take that belligerent tone with me. I don't want to argue with you.
Example 2.
Thomas is always so belligerent. It is impossible to talk to him.
Example 3.
Stacy was fired for her belligerent attitude.
Okay, so I can understand that it means sort of aggressive, having a strong willingness to fight.
Exactly. A belligerent person, a belligerent attitude, a belligerent country.
Okay.
Very good. And our last word for today,
Anguish.
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 So to cause great anguish.
To cause a lot of terrible emotional or physical pain.
Okay, so it is a synonym of pain, of suffering.
Yeah, but really intense suffering.
Really intense.
Why don't we give a few examples? The end of his marriage caused him great anguish.
Or, for example, the loss of his dog caused him great anguish.
Okay, so anguish.
All right, so we've covered 5 great words on language takeaway today. Why don't we move on now to putting it together?
Putting it together.
Okay, we're going to look at 3 phrases that we heard in the dialogue and see how we can use them in different contexts. So the aliens were praising some of the masterpieces that the humans have created, right?
Right.
He said, you humans create such wonders as the Taj Mahal, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So let's look at this phrase, such wonders as.
All right, so we have a noun here, a wonder,
An amazing thing.
an amazing structure.
Yes.
So he says such wonders as. Now we can change this noun and replace it with another one, right?
Yeah, we can replace that noun with anything. So why don't we hear a few examples?
Example 1.
To finish this house, we need such materials as cement, wood, and steel.
Example 2.
I need to write a report on a social topic such as psychology, health, or marriage.
Example 3.
Companies have found that social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter are great marketing opportunities.
So this is a really useful structure to use when you want to give examples of many different things.
Okay, and as the alien was criticizing the humans, the guy said, "What gives you the right to come and judge us?"
So interesting phrase. What gives you the right?
What gives you the right?
What gives you the right?
All right, so if I tell you, what gives you the right to, and then a verb,
Yeah.
what am I saying there?
You're basically saying, you don't have the right to do this. You shouldn't do this.
Why are you doing it? Or why do you want to have this control over me?
Yep. So when would you use this phrase?
If somebody is trying to control you, or maybe somebody is judging you or doing something to you against your will, maybe,
Yep.
you would say, what gives you the right to take my phone away?
What gives you the right to tell me what to do?
All right. It's a good phrase to tell that other person that they shouldn't do that.
They're doing something unfair.
Unfair. Okay.
Yeah.
And our next phrase is very similar. Who are you to play God with our fate?
Okay, so I want to look at this. To play God.
All right, so to play God is making these arbitrary decisions, like he is the master of everything.
Right, controlling everything.
Mm-hmm.
But this phrase, who are you to?
So basically saying you don't have the power or authority to do this.
Mm-hmm. And you can use it in exactly the same way. Who are you to tell me what to do?
Who are you to take away my phone?
Exactly. So you don't have the power to do this.
Very good.
So these phrases are a little bit aggressive, almost belligerent, wouldn't you say?
A little bit, but I guess if you are being treated unfair or if you are angry at a situation, it would be a good phrase to use to put your point across.
Yes, and as we saw, these humans are pretty angry. So why don't we listen again as they're telling the aliens, who are you to do this to us?
Oh, honey, this is so romantic. I've never seen like so many stars before. It's beautiful.
See that constellation there? That's Orion. And the very bright star? Well, it's not a star because it doesn't blink. That's actually Venus.
What's that big flashy one?
I don't know. I think it's a UFO.
Greetings, Earthlings. I come from afar, from a distant galaxy known only to a few.
Why are you here? Where did you come from?
We have been observing you for the last 3,000 years. We have seen the amazing capacity that humans have to create such wonders as the Taj Mahal or masterpieces such as the Hafner Symphony. Unfortunately, your intelligence and creativity does not come without consequence. Your ambition and desire for more will be your downfall, and we are here to save your planet from you.
You think you have us figured out? What gives you the right to come and judge us? Who are you to play God with our fate?
Silence, human. It is that belligerent attitude that has caused years of pain and anguish among yourselves. Now you will pay the price.
Okay, so UFOs and constellations and stars and planets. Have you ever had an encounter with one of these?
Well, definitely not an encounter with a UFO, but maybe with some of the wonders of the night sky.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
Well, you know, when I was small, I used to have my vacations up in northern Canada. And because it was so far away from the city, it was really dark, and you could see all of these shooting stars. So these stars moving across the sky and lighting up the whole sky with their brightness. And it really is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
So shooting stars, those are like balls of fire that move across the sky, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I saw once, actually, I was in an astronomy class and turned around, and over the horizon, like at the end of the sky, where the sky meets the earth, I saw this huge ball of fire move across the sky, and it looked like it landed in the field next to us. It was so close.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Well, I imagine that it is really amazing, and I guess Canada is the place to be when you want to see these things.
I know. We've got like northern lights, we've got shooting stars, lots of stuff.
All right, so what about you guys? You should tell us if you've ever seen a shooting star or a meteor or something of this type of astronomy things, right?
Or even a UFO.
All right, so come to our website, englishpod.com. Be sure to leave your questions and your comments. And Erica and I are there to answer any questions or doubts.
Well, thanks for downloading, you guys. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. A particular shape formed by a group of stars.
Constellation.
Produce light every several seconds.
Blink.
Unidentified flying object.
UFO.
Human beings that live on Earth.
Earthlings.
From a long distance.
From afar.
Any of numerous large-scale collections of stars, gas, and dust that make up the visible universe.
Galaxy.
The ability to do something.
Capacity.
A monumental human creation that is amazing.
Wonder.
Wonderful pieces of work.
Masterpiece.
A logical result or effect of an action.
Consequence.
The desire to achieve more.
Ambition.
Something that brings failure.
Downfall.
Completely understand, comprehend.
Figure out.
Decide the fate of someone or something.
Play God.
Angry, aggressive, wanting to fight.
Belligerent.
Very strong and terrible physical or mental pain, torment.
Anguish.
A vehicle that travels in space.
Spacecraft.
An event when people do something to play a joke on or fool others.
Hoax.
The study of the stars and space.
Astronomy.
Unable to be explained by science.
Supernatural.
A name for a UFO.
Flying saucer.
Let's try that faster. The ability to do something.
Capacity.
A logical result or effect of an action.
Consequence.
A monumental human creation that is amazing.
Wonder.
Something that brings failure.
Downfall.
An event when people do something to play a joke on or fool others.
Hoax.
A vehicle that travels in space.
Spacecraft.
From a long distance.
From afar.
Unable to be explained by science.
Supernatural.
Very strong and terrible physical or mental pain, torment.
Anguish.
Unidentified flying object.
UFO.
The study of the stars and space.
Astronomy.
Completely understand, comprehend.
Figure out.
A particular shape formed by a group of stars.
Constellation.
Produce light every several seconds.
Blink.
Decide the fate of someone or something.
Play God.
Any of numerous large-scale collections of stars, gas, and dust that make up the visible universe.
Galaxy.
The desire to achieve more.
Ambition.
A name for a UFO.
Flying saucer.
Angry, aggressive, wanting to fight.
Belligerent.
Human beings that live on Earth.
Earthlings.
Wonderful pieces of work.
Masterpiece.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Their fans came from afar to watch their national team play in the World Cup. This is a picture of the Earth as it is seen from afar. I have loved her from afar for more than a year now. I need to tell her how I feel. Consequence. There are very serious consequences for committing a crime in this country. Consequence. You knew the possible consequences for your actions. Now you must pay the price. Consequence. His decision had serious consequences for his business. Downfall. His addiction to alcohol will be his downfall. Downfall. The downfall of the Roman Empire was an important event in history. Downfall. Our company made some bad investments and ultimately caused our downfall. Figure out. Have you figured out the solution to that math problem yet? Figure out. I think I figured out what is wrong with my car. Figure out. Scientists have figured out a way to make cars run on water. Belligerent. Don't take that belligerent tone with me. I don't want to argue with you. Belligerent. Thomas is always so belligerent. It is impossible to talk to him. Belligerent. Stacy was fired for her belligerent attitude.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we've got a great upper intermediate level lesson for you all about animal and human rights.
Right. So it's a very debatable topic. People want to protect animals, mistreatment of animals. And this is what we're going to talk about today, protecting animals and giving them rights. Do you think animals have rights?
Well, I think we could leave that for the end. I don't want to, influence the argument here in today's dialogue. But yeah, as you've said, I think it's very much a topic that people can go both ways on.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we listen to our dialogue as two people discuss animal rights, and let's get their opinions on things.
You should have seen the TV show that was on last night. The topic it covered was really interesting. Animal rights.
Do you really believe in that? If they're going to focus on something, they should do it on civil rights.
Yes, but we can't deny that animals are vulnerable, defenseless, and are completely at the mercy of human beings.
I understand your point, but we continue to have transgressions against human rights. If so much attention weren't devoted to the topic of animals, we would then concentrate more on saving a human being instead of protecting a koala.
You can't compare apples and oranges. I believe that both topics are important, and that we can't ignore them. The mistreatment of animals can cause a great environmental imbalance. I believe that governments should prohibit activities like poaching.
Well, you are right on that point. This is the reason that I don't buy leather, and I try to buy synthetic products.
At least you're doing your part. My contribution is to have a pet in the house that I treat like a member of the family.
As long as you don't treat it better than your wife, it's fine.
All right, we're back, and both of them have good points, right? In favor and against. And as you said, they also talk about human rights, which is also a very important topic. But before we discuss this topic, why don't we take a look at the language that was used now in Language Takeaway?
Language takeaway.
All right, so in Language Takeaway, our first word today is vulnerable.
Okay, vulnerable is a great word. It's a way to describe something. And so something is vulnerable if it can't really protect itself.
So you are in danger of being hurt,
Exactly.
right? So you're vulnerable. Now, this isn't only used for animals, right? It can be like an army is vulnerable if they don't have strong defenses on the border or something.
Right, or my emotions. I'm feeling vulnerable because I just had a really horrible week and I'm really depressed and I'm emotionally vulnerable.
Okay, very good. So vulnerable. And they also talked about transgressions against human rights.
All right, so a transgression is a thing, it's a noun. And transgression is like doing something harmful to or
Against someone
or something.
So a transgression, it's a noun. So is it doing something in a bad way? Or
Exactly, it's a bad thing.
It's always negative. You can't.
Exactly.
It's not positive, right?
Right, and so in many prayers, for example, in the Christian faith, you say, Lord, forgive me for my transgressions, for having kind of crossed the line from doing good things to bad things. So you're doing bad things.
Very good. So that's a good way of putting it, to cross the line, to kind of go beyond where you should. All right, so transgressions. And now another very serious problem in the world is poaching. And that's one of the things that they said they should control, poaching.
All right, you might have heard this word in a different context because it does have another meaning, but I'm just going to explain the one meaning here that we're talking about, which is killing animals, especially for sport or for selling their skins and their furs.
Right, so that's poaching. What's the difference between poaching and hunting?
Hunting can be legal, poaching is illegal.
Okay, so that's the main difference. Hunting is usually for sport. You hunt either for food or for sport, right? Legal hunting. But poaching is usually you want to sell, like you said, the fur or the skins or something.
Or the tusks on rhinos or something like that.
Exactly. All right, so poaching. And then they talked about synthetic products. So what is a synthetic product?
Well, synthetic product is something that is man-made. So it's not natural in that it doesn't come from the earth. Cotton is a natural product, and plastic, for example, is synthetic. Or another example.
Nylon.
Nylon is a really good synthetic product. And so people who don't want to use animal products like wool or leather, they prefer to use synthetic products.
And I think maybe you've heard this in clothing. It's called synthetic fibers, right? Like nylon or polyester.
Exactly.
These are all the words that we have for language takeaway today. So why don't we move on now to a couple of very interesting phrases that we saw in the dialogue now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase is, it's a common one, but it's definitely not used in very happy circumstances. We say that something or someone is at the mercy of someone else.
Okay, so animals are at the mercy of human beings.
What does this mean exactly, mercy?
So basically, it means that the animals, in this case, don't have control of what's going on. So human beings are the ones that control everything. So if I decide to kill them, then they are at my mercy, at my will, at my whim.
Exactly. And so you could say, I'm at your mercy, Marco. Please just help me out with this. It's like you're the one in control. You're the one who can help the situation. Will you help?
Exactly. I'm at the mercy of someone. And then they were talking and debating this thing, and an interesting comparison came up. You can't compare apples and oranges.
All right, you're going to hear this all the time in English. It's not just a funny little phrase that the person uses. It's a very common idiom. And so we say, it's like apples and oranges, or you can't compare apples and oranges. And this is essentially saying these are two different things.
Completely different.
Completely different. So I can't compare him and her because it's apples and oranges. They're two different things, two different people.
Right. Because that's what in the movie you said they were like peas and carrots.
They just go together.
They go together. Does that make sense?
Not really. Forrest Gump was a little bit strange like that. But I think the meaning is that if I say that's a big apple and I say that's a small apple, they're all apples, so I can compare them. But I say this is a really big orange and that's a really big apple. Well, they're different.
Yeah.
You just can't compare them.
All right, and towards the end, the person said that you're doing your part. You're doing your part.
Yeah. So this is a hard one to understand sometimes because it's not like a part in a play. It's more like a part in society. You're helping make society or culture or civilization better.
So you're contributing.
Exactly.
So, for example, what would be an example of a person doing their part towards society?
Well, for example, I don't own a car. I ride my bike, and it's my way of doing my part to help the environment.
Okay, very good.
Because I can't buy a factory that's, very green, or I can't do all these things to change the world. So I'm going to do small things those are my way of doing my part.
Okay. So like another example would be recycling. That's doing your part.
Exactly.
Or in this case, the person bought only synthetic products, nothing made from nature. All right, very good. So very interesting phrases. Why don't we listen to our dialogue for the last time, and then we'll be right back.
You should have seen the TV show that was on last night. The topic it covered was really interesting. Animal rights.
Do you really believe in that? If they're going to focus on something, they should do it on civil rights.
Yes, but we can't deny that animals are vulnerable, defenseless, and are completely at the mercy of human beings.
I understand your point, but we continue to have transgressions against human rights. If so much attention weren't devoted to the topic of animals, we would then concentrate more on saving a human being instead of protecting a koala.
You can't compare apples and oranges. I believe that both topics are important, and that we can't ignore them. The mistreatment of animals can cause a great environmental imbalance. I believe that governments should prohibit activities like poaching.
Well, you are right on that point. This is the reason that I don't buy leather, and I try to buy synthetic products.
At least you're doing your part. My contribution is to have a pet in the house that I treat like a member of the family.
As long as you don't treat it better than your wife, it's fine.
All right, so a debatable topic, animals and animal rights. What do you think?
Well, I'll say this. I would be a hypocrite if I said that it's bad to hurt animals because I'm a meat eater. I like to eat meat and I like to wear leather. But I do think it's bad to mistreat animals. So I try to buy free-range chicken or meat from places I know that treat the animals well. And I definitely disagree with poaching and with using animals, especially endangered animals, for money and cash purposes. And so that's my position. But what's yours? I mean, I know you eat meat too.
No, yeah, of course. And I think even though protection of animals is a very important topic, and you don't want the mistreatment of these little creatures that are very vulnerable to us, because we're smarter than them in the end. But I think also it has to do a lot with superstition sometimes, and kind of mystical and magical things. For example, people killing rhinos because they believe that the rhino horn has amazing curing properties, or the same thing with elephant tusks and stuff like that. So it also it involves this certain aspect that people almost don't know any better. They truly believe that these things actually work, or that they will help them. So they don't consider the like in the dialogue said, the imbalance that they create in the environment, or the consequences.
Or there might be some very serious evolutionary consequences that we cannot even imagine. And so, things change kind of over time, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly. But if we force change really quickly, who knows what the results are going to be? It might be really negative for us.
Exactly, and that's what we want to know now. What do you think about these topics? Because in the end, the environment, animals, they're all connected. If you wipe out all the foxes in a forest, then you're gonna have you're gonna have too many snakes running around, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Come to EnglishPod.com, and where you can leave all your questions, comments, or suggestions, and we're always there to help out.
So we hope to see you there, and until next time, everyone, goodbye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. The rights people have.
Civil rights.
Capable of being decomposed by natural means.
Biodegradable.
Easily hurt or harmed.
Vulnerable.
A prolonged period of time during which no rain falls.
Drought.
defenseless,
defenseless,
a severe shortage of food,
famine,
in a position where you can be harmed,
at the mercy of,
the part of the Earth's surface and atmosphere inhabited by living things,
biosphere,
something that is not allowed,
transgression,
a general term for the research activity that creates a copy of some biological entity,
cloning,
an unfair comparison of two different things,
apples and oranges,
to illegally hunt protected animals,
poach,
not natural,
synthetic,
to help accomplish a goal,
do your part,
let's try that faster, the rights people have,
civil rights,
the part of the Earth's surface and atmosphere inhabited by living things,
biosphere,
something that is not allowed,
transgression,
easily hurt or harmed,
vulnerable,
an unfair comparison of two different things,
apples and oranges,
in a position where you can be harmed,
at the mercy of,
to illegally hunt protected animals,
poach,
defenseless,
defenseless,
a severe shortage of food,
famine,
capable of being decomposed by natural means,
biodegradable,
not natural,
synthetic,
a general term for the research activity that creates a copy of some biological entity,
cloning,
to help accomplish a goal,
do your part,
a prolonged period of time during which no rain falls.
drought,
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
vulnerable, the wound is vulnerable to infection, vulnerable, a dry forest is vulnerable to fires, vulnerable, the spawning salmon is vulnerable to predators, at the mercy of, the city is at the mercy of the forest fire, at the mercy of, the lost sailors were at the mercy of the vast ocean that lay ahead of them, at the mercy of, our city is at the mercy of criminals and gangsters. Something must be done. Transgression, all transgressions of the law will be severely punished. Transgression, she was guilty of the worst moral transgression. Transgression, there are legal consequences for those that transgress the law. Apples and oranges, You can't compare Batman and Superman. It's like apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. The two operating systems are so different. They're like apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. You can't compare those two authors. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Do your part. Do your part. Don't litter. Do your part. Your wife looks so tired. You haven't been doing your part around the house. Do your part. Do your part to prevent climate change and try riding your bike to work.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another great podcast here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be bringing you bad news.
That's right. Actually, what we're really going to be bringing you is language to talk about bad news.
Exactly. So maybe you have to give bad news to your boss, to your parents, I don't know, somebody, and we're going to be teaching you how to do this in English.
Well, obviously, it's always difficult to tell somebody bad news, but in your second language, it's even harder. So we're going to try and help you today with some great phrases and vocabulary items.
We're not going to preview anything today. Let's go directly to our dialogue where we will be in a company and one of the employees is going to be giving bad news to his boss. So let's listen.
Now that we've been over the gory details of our disastrous first quarter, Ed, give us some good news. How are things looking for us in terms of sales this month?
Well, would you like the bad news first or the really bad news?
What? Ed, don't tell me you only have bad news.
Well, sir, our sales have dropped. No, plunged. 50% in the past month alone. We are currently overstocked and overstaffed, and our profits are falling fast. The market is in recession, and we have no way of moving our inventory or getting rid of our staff. If we consider redundancies, it would cost us a fortune because of the new regulations governing compensation packages. It's a real mess.
For crying out loud, how fast are we losing money?
How can I put this? Let's just say that at this pace, we will be filing for Chapter 11 in less than 3 months.
What? Jeez, how could this have happened? So what's the bad news?
Oh, that's the really bad news. Our suppliers suffered QC problems, and, well, half of our production is faulty. We're going to have to recall all items sold in the last quarter, and the worst part, we're going to have to shoulder this cost.
Are you joking? Get the supplier on the line now. They have to assume the cost of this mess.
We tried that, sir. The factory has gone under, and the owner apparently has fled the country.
Oh, we're doomed.
There is some really good news, though.
Really? What?
I got offered a new job.
All right, it sounds like a pretty tough time for this company, doesn't it?
But good news for the employee, he won't be jobless.
Well, I guess he knows when to get out. But why don't we take a look at some of the language now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
So in Language Takeaway today, we have 5 vocabulary items, and well, let's start with the first one.
All right, so the boss, he's talking about the gory details of our disastrous first quarter. So let's look at the phrase gory details.
All right, so gory details.
Gory details.
This sounds kind of strange. Gory details. It seems very scary.
Well, the word gory comes from gore, like blood and guts, right?
Exactly. That's why it sounds a little bit scary to me.
Yep. So gory details mean all the little details of a negative or shocking or bad situation.
Okay, so the gory details of the meeting, so all the nasty and negative stuff.
Or the gory detail, or you could say the newspaper reported all the gory details of the murder.
Okay, very good. So gory details. So the employee was talking about how bad the company was doing, and he mentioned this word redundancies.
Redundancies.
They are considering redundancies.
Okay, so redundancies, again, it's based on the word to be redundant.
All right, and that means?
To not be needed anymore.
Okay, so redundancies are basically firing people.
It's, well, laying people off. People that you don't need anymore. They are redundancies.
All right, so this is actually a British term, redundancies, to become redundant, because in American English, you would just say layoffs.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
All right, so moving on. They were talking about redundancies and maybe they should or shouldn't lay some people off, but one of the problems were the regulations governing compensation packages.
Okay, so regulations governing compensation packages.
Regulations governing something.
So we have a noun governing noun. Well, what does that mean?
All right, so I think it would help us to understand this a little better if we listen to some examples of this pattern, noun governing noun.
Example 1.
I don't agree with the regulations governing income taxes. People shouldn't have to give away their hard-earned money.
Example 2.
We need to protect the environment. Therefore, there will be new policies governing corporate levels of pollution starting next month.
Example 3.
The lack of regulations governing city transportation has led to many traffic accidents.
Okay, great examples. And, well, before we move on, this compensation packages, I guess it's all the things that the company gives you when they lay you off, right?
Right. Maybe a certain portion of your retirement benefits
And
or
like a month's pay,
Yeah.
etc.
Yep.
Okay, compensation packages. All right, so moving on to our next item on language takeaway, we have to shoulder the cost.
to shoulder the cost.
All right, so if I shoulder something,
You have to carry it.
I carry it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So basically, it's the same as the shoulder, your body.
Yep.
So you carry this cost or you carry this responsibility.
Yep. So you might also hear shoulder the burden.
To shoulder the burden.
Yeah. So it just means to carry the responsibility.
Okay, to share it.
Yep.
All right, interesting. And we have one more word on language takeaway. And the factory has gone under.
To go under.
All right, to go under.
When something goes under, a company goes under, it goes bankrupt.
It goes bankrupt. So it's not working anymore.
That's right.
All right, so to go under. Great vocabulary items here on Language Takeaway today. It's time for us to move on to the next segment of our show where we're going to look at some phrases. So let's start now with Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, so we've got some phrases that you can use when somebody's going to tell you some bad news, but also some phrases you can use to deliver bad news.
All right, so let's start with our first phrase.
So the boss is getting ready to prepare for this bad news, and he says, "Lay it on me."
He's like, okay, lay it on me.
Lay it on me.
So if I say this, lay it on me, I'm just saying, tell me.
Exactly.
So give me the bad news. Mm-hmm. All right, so lay it on me. Very informal, though.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of informal. But our next phrase, the boss is hearing about all this bad news, and he says, "For crying out loud."
For crying out loud.
For crying out loud.
All right, so this is a very common phrase of frustration.
Yep.
Right? So why don't we listen to some examples to kind of understand how we use this phrase?
Example 1.
For crying out loud, when I tell you to have the report done by Wednesday, that means I expect it to be on my desk by the end of the day.
Example 2.
We've got to figure out a new marketing strategy for crying out loud.
Example 3.
For crying out loud, you just got your driving license and you already got in an accident?
So it kind of reminds me of "oh my god."
So you're frustrated. You're just saying this phrase as "oh my god" or something like this.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh, this is so annoying."
Exactly. For crying out loud.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to our third phrase. How can I put this?
How can I put this?
So the boss asked him a direct question, and he said, well, how can I put this?
So we use this phrase when we want to say something maybe a little bit more indirectly.
Right, so you're looking for words of how you can make it softer or more polite. Maybe the truth or what you're about to say is a little bit strong, so you want to soften it up a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say, how can I put this? But then you have to complement it with, let's just say that.
Let's just say that.
Let's just say that.
So how do we use this phrase?
So, for example, somebody asks me, well, what do you mean? Why can't you come on vacation with us? Mm-hmm. And I would say, how can I put this? Let's just say that in 9 months you will hear the pitter-patter of little feet.
Okay, so your girlfriend's pregnant.
Exactly. So you're not saying, my girlfriend is pregnant.
You're giving like a metaphor.
A metaphor of what's going on, but you don't want to say it directly.
Yeah.
Right?
Another example, I might say, let's just say that Michael isn't doing a great job.
All right. So maybe there are very strong reasons, or he's doing very, very poorly.
Right. But I'm just sort of not saying it exactly directly that he's doing bad.
Okay. Very good. So it's a phrase that you can actually use a lot, and to be a little bit more polite or a little bit more indirect when you're giving somebody some bad news.
Exactly. Two nice sort of complimenting phrases for delivering bad news, and why don't we hear them one more time in the dialogue?
Now that we've been over the gory details of our disastrous first quarter, Ed, give us some good news. How are things looking for us in terms of sales this month?
Well, would you like the bad news first or the really bad news?
What? Ed, don't tell me you only have bad news.
Well, sir, our sales have dropped. No, plunged. 50% in the past month alone. We are currently overstocked and overstaffed, and our profits are falling fast. The market is in recession, and we have no way of moving our inventory or getting rid of our staff. If we consider redundancies, it would cost us a fortune because of the new regulations governing compensation packages. It's a real mess.
For crying out loud, how fast are we losing money?
How can I put this? Let's just say that at this pace, we will be filing for Chapter 11 in less than 3 months.
What? Jeez, how could this have happened? So what's the bad news?
Oh, that's the really bad news. Our suppliers suffered QC problems, and, well, half of our production is faulty. We're going to have to recall all items sold in the last quarter, and the worst part, we're going to have to shoulder this cost.
Are you joking? Get the supplier on the line now. They have to assume the cost of this mess.
We tried that, sir. The factory has gone under, and the owner apparently has fled the country.
Oh, we're doomed.
There's some really good news, though.
Really? What?
I got offered a new job.
All right, great. So this topic of filing for Chapter 11 is actually very recent, very common now, because recently one of the biggest companies filed for Chapter 11 in the U.S.
Yeah, that's right. But I often get confused by the phrase to file for Chapter 11 versus to file for Chapter 13.
All right, so in the United States, the bankruptcy law has different chapters or different sections, right?
Yep.
And Chapter 11 is basically for companies that run out of money, that go bankrupt, so they have to declare themselves in bankruptcy.
Yep.
And so they file for Chapter 11.
But what about Chapter 13?
Chapter 13 is for people.
Ah, okay.
So people who have large debts, maybe with the car company or the telephone company, and they can't pay, they file for Chapter 13. They say, hey, I don't have money, I can't pay.
Right, and so I guess here it's kind of a metaphor again. You know, it's this phrase to file for Chapter 11 or Chapter 13, meaning bankruptcy.
Right.
And people will say personally that they're filing for Chapter 11.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right, so this is an interesting situation because if you file for bankruptcy in some countries, you can go to jail.
I read recently about this happening in Dubai, actually.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there is prison for debts. In the U.S., you don't go to prison for debts.
But what about in your countries, listeners? What happens when you go into debt in your country?
Or what happens when a company goes into bankruptcy. Let us know. Come to our website, englishpod.com. Leave your questions and comments. And, of course, Erica and I are always there to help you out.
Thanks for downloading, you guys. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
The minimum return below which an enterprise becomes unprofitable.
Margin.
The entire amount of income before any deductions are made.
Revenue.
Having no money. Informal.
Broke.
The lowest possible level or absolute bottom.
Hit rock bottom.
Cause to rise rapidly and suddenly.
Skyrocket.
All the small details.
Gory details.
Tell me the bad news.
Lay it on me.
Drop down suddenly and quickly.
Plunge.
Very bad. Having bad results.
Disastrous.
Regarding. About.
In terms of.
Having too many things to sell.
To be overstocked.
Have too many employees.
Be overstaffed.
The amount of products you have to sell.
Inventory.
Remove or take away something that is annoying.
Get rid of.
Layoffs. Ending employment of staff for money reasons.
Redundancies.
Be responsible for the cost.
Shoulder the cost.
Rule.
Govern.
Used to express anger or annoyance.
For crying out loud.
Bankruptcy. Owing more money than you can pay.
Chapter 11.
The process of controlling the quality of production. Quality control.
Quality control.
Let's try that faster.
Regarding. About.
In terms of.
Tell me the bad news.
Lay it on me.
Having too many things to sell.
To be overstocked.
Used to express anger or annoyance.
For crying out loud.
Rule.
Govern.
The amount of products you have to sell.
Inventory.
The process of controlling the quality of production. Quality control.
Quality control.
The entire amount of income before any deductions are made.
Revenue.
All the small details.
Gory details.
Layoffs. Ending employment of staff for money reasons.
Redundancies.
Remove or take away something that is annoying.
Get rid of.
Cause to rise rapidly and suddenly.
Skyrocket.
Very bad. Having bad results.
Disastrous.
Having no money. Informal.
Broke.
Be responsible for the cost.
Shoulder the cost.
The lowest possible level or absolute bottom.
Hit rock bottom.
Bankruptcy. Owing more money than you can pay.
Chapter 11.
Have too many employees.
Be overstaffed.
The minimum return below which an enterprise becomes unprofitable.
Margin.
Drop down suddenly and quickly.
Plunge.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Gory details. Without going too much into the gory details of the current economy, you should know that we expect business to slow down in the next few months. Gory details. Spare me the gory details. How are we going to survive this financial crisis? Gory details. Tell me all about your pregnancy, sparing me the gory details, of course. We need to protect the environment. Therefore, there will be new policies governing corporate levels of pollution starting next month. I don't agree with the regulations governing income taxes. People shouldn't have to give away their hard-earned money. The lack of regulations governing city transportation has led to many traffic accidents. Our insurance for a financial crisis expired 6 months ago, so we are going to have to shoulder the cost of this loss. We are going to have to shoulder the majority of the costs for this project. Many of our investors pulled out. You are going to have to shoulder the costs if you break that vase. For crying out loud. For crying out loud. When I tell you to have the report done by Wednesday, that means I expect it to be on my desk by the end of the day. For crying out loud. We've got to figure out a new marketing strategy for crying out loud. For crying out loud. For crying out loud. You just got your driving license and you already got in an accident? Let's just say that the economy is so bad that if we still have our jobs in 2 months, we will be lucky. Let's just say that if we don't come up with an exciting marketing strategy soon, we might go bankrupt. She is so incredibly gorgeous. Let's just say that when she walks by, people turn their heads to watch her pass.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Erica.
Today, we're bringing you another one of our sports lessons, and this time, we're going to go to a boxing match.
That's right. So we're going to be learning language that you can use if you're talking about boxing, but not only boxing, right?
Right. We can also use this language for describing a fight or somebody that's fighting.
Okay, so not that we're asking our listeners to get into fights, but if ever you see a fight, at least now you'll have the language to talk about it.
Exactly. So let's listen to our dialogue for the first time. It might sound familiar. We have the legendary Rocky Balboa at English Pod fighting for the heavyweight championship. So let's see what happens.
Welcome back, boxing fans. My name is Rick Fields, and here with me is the man with the iron jaw, Bob Copeland.
Thank you, Rick. We're coming to you live from Las Vegas. We're in the beautiful MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, where the World Heavyweight Championship is about to get underway.
That's right, Bob. We're about to witness the legendary Italian stallion himself, Rocky Balboa, square off against his lifetime rival, Apollo Creed. This will be a gruesome match for sure.
Both fighters are in the ring, and we are about to begin.
In the blue corner, weighing in at 220 pounds, the former heavyweight champion of the world, the master of disaster, the one and only Apollo Creed. In the red corner, weighing 218 pounds, and with a record of 47 wins and 37 knockouts, the undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa.
There's the bell, and this fight is underway. Apollo quickly attacks Rocky with quick, strong jabs. Rocky dodges successfully and counterattacks with a strong right hook.
Apollo is cut. Rocky landed a strong blow to his right eyebrow and cut him.
This is his chance. Rocky quickly throws a left, right, another left. Apollo is getting pounded.
Apollo recovers with a powerful haymaker and catches Rocky off guard. He's down. The ref starts the count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow, sounds like a great fight.
Amazing fight, and I don't know who's going to win. Rocky apparently got knocked down. What do you think will happen?
Well, if I know anything about Rocky Balboa, he will not stay knocked down for long.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the language we saw in this dialogue in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, Rick Fields said that we have a very gruesome match tonight.
A gruesome match.
Gruesome.
All right, so if something is gruesome...
It's bad, it's terrible, it's bloody.
Okay, bloody, terrible, very hard, or like a gruesome fight would be a very bloody fight.
Yeah, or a gruesome film.
Okay, very good. So, gruesome.
Now, they mentioned that both fighters are in the ring.
Both fighters are in the ring.
The ring.
Okay, so the ring is the physical space where they fight.
But isn't it square?
Yeah, it is square. It is not really circular, but it's called a boxing ring. I'm not really sure why.
Well, maybe one of our listeners knows and can tell us about that, because I am not an expert on boxing. But what I do know is our next word. They were describing Rocky Balboa's career, and they said he had 37 knockouts.
Okay, a knockout.
A knockout.
In this sense, knockout is a noun. A knockout is when the fighter hits the other fighter and he falls to the ground and he can't get up in 10 seconds because he's tired, he's dizzy, he's hurt.
Okay,
so that's a knockout.
Okay, so this is a technical boxing word. It's the action of falling to the ground and not getting up.
Right, but there's also a verb, to knock out.
Or to knock someone out. So
exactly.
So when you say, I knocked this guy out,
it means I hit him so hard that he fell to the floor and maybe he was unconscious for a while.
So he fell asleep, basically.
Almost.
Yeah.
So it's very similar, the noun form to the verb form. Like basically, if you knock someone out, you get a knockout.
Okay, so to knock someone out, a knockout.
All right. Now for our next word, we saw as Apollo quickly began to jab Rocky Balboa.
So the noun, a jab.
So a jab. Quick jabs.
So a jab is a kind of punch, right?
It's a fast, short, but not very strong punch.
Okay, so a technical boxing word, a jab.
A jab.
This can also be a verb, right?
Right, so to jab.
Mm-hmm.
To jab. Now, Apollo was throwing jabs and Rocky began to dodge
All right, and that's our next word, to dodge.
Dodge.
D-O-D-G-E, to dodge.
All right, so if you dodge, you're trying to avoid getting hit.
Right, so you move your body so that you're not hit.
Exactly. Now, we can also use it in different ways. Not only do you dodge when somebody's trying to punch you, you can also, for example, dodge a bullet.
Right, so when you dodge a bullet, you avoid some bad situation or some bad event.
Right, so we have many examples of dodge used in other contexts, so why don't we listen to some examples?
Example 1. See that guy dodging through the traffic? He's going to get hit by a car if he's not careful. Example 2.
Well, the storm turned south, so it looks like we managed to dodge a bullet.
Example 3. Look, you're the one who is in charge of sales and the numbers are down. It's your problem, so stop trying to dodge your responsibilities.
You know, that word reminds me of another sport, dodgeball.
Oh, dodgeball, exactly. Same principle.
Yeah, but that's an entirely different lesson. I think we need to focus here on the boxing vocabulary. So the announcers said that Apollo is getting pounded.
To get pounded.
To get pounded.
Now, if someone is getting pounded...
they're getting hit really hard.
And a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, to get pounded.
Get pounded. And now we have one more word, and it's also another boxing term called a haymaker.
A powerful haymaker.
Okay, so Apollo received a powerful haymaker.
Now, this word is actually new to me. So, Marco, what does it mean?
Basically, it's a very strong, very wild punch.
Okay, so you don't have really good form. Your body is kind of moving all over the place.
Right, so you don't have much balance, so you just throw your entire body and your fist at someone to hit them as hard as you can. That's a haymaker.
All right, a technical boxing word here for you guys. But now we've got some interesting phrases for you on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, so on Fluency Builder today, we're going to take a look at some of these phrases, and we have 4 of them for you today. So let's get started with the first one.
Well, the announcers said that the boxing match was about to get underway.
Okay, to get underway.
To get underway.
So again, this is another way of saying about to begin.
Right.
All right, so we're about to get underway with this new project.
Or the meeting's just about to get underway, so make sure everyone's here.
Very good. So the match was about to get underway, and the sports announcer said that Rocky Balboa is going to square off against his lifetime rival.
So we're going to look at this phrase, to square off against someone.
All right, I'm going to square off against Jim.
All right, when you square off against Jim, you get ready to fight with him or to compete with him, right?
Right, so we're about to have a one-to-one competition.
So this is like a sports word, but it's also really commonly used in a lot of different contexts. So why don't we hear a few more examples of how we can use this phrase, to square off?
Example 1.
The two countries are moving their armies close to the borders as they prepare to square off in a border dispute.
Example 2. Italy and Brazil are squaring off in the final game this afternoon. Example 3.
Lisa and Daniel squared off against each other in the marketing meeting today. They were both pretty angry.
All right, so great examples, and I think we can use it now not only in boxing but in other situations.
Now, Bob said that Rocky landed a strong blow.
To land a strong blow.
All right, so land a strong blow. Now, let's break this down. So, a blow.
A blow is a punch or a hit.
Okay, and when you land a strong blow, what happens?
You basically successfully hit your opponent with a punch or hit.
So you hit them, so your fist meets their body.
Yes, so your fist landed on their body.
Mm-hmm. So I could also change this a little bit. I could say, I landed a punch.
Right. Or in boxing terms, he landed a strong left jab.
Okay, so to land a blow.
The announcer described it as Rock threw a left.
To throw a left.
So he said he threw a left and a right.
Now, again, we'll take this one apart. So a left, what are we talking about?
Basically a left punch, but we can omit punch.
Okay, so it's a punch with your left hand, but the verb throw, you throw a left punch.
So basically you punch somebody with your left.
Okay, so it's just another way of saying to punch someone.
To punch someone, right?
Yeah.
So Bob started to throw some punches at the other guy.
All right. Or look over there. That guy's throwing punches.
All right. So to throw a punch.
Now, again, you can use this in a lot of different ways with a lot of different types of punches. So you could say to throw a jab.
Okay. Or throw an uppercut.
Or throw a hook.
Okay. So now that we've seen all these phrases, why don't we listen to the dialogue for the very last time, and we'll come back in a little bit.
Welcome back, boxing fans. My name is Rick Fields, and here with me is the man with the iron jaw, Bob Copeland.
Thank you, Rick. We're coming to you live from Las Vegas. We're in the beautiful MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, where the World Heavyweight Championship is about to get underway.
That's right, Bob. We're about to witness the legendary Italian stallion himself, Rocky Balboa, square off against his lifetime rival, Apollo Creed. This will be a gruesome match for sure.
Both fighters are in the ring, and we are about to begin.
In the blue corner, weighing in at 220 pounds, the former heavyweight champion of the world, the master of disaster, the one and only Apollo Creed. In the red corner, weighing 218 pounds, and with a record of 47 wins and 37 knockouts, the undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa.
There's the bell, and this fight is underway. Apollo quickly attacks Rocky with quick, strong jabs. Rocky dodges successfully and counterattacks with a strong right hook.
Apollo is cut. Rocky landed a strong blow to his right eyebrow and cut him.
This is his chance. Rocky quickly throws a left, right, another left. Apollo is getting pounded.
Apollo recovers with a powerful haymaker and catches Rocky off guard. He's down. The ref starts the count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So as I mentioned, Marco, I'm not really that much of a fan or that knowledgeable about boxing. And actually, this is becoming a theme in these sports lessons, isn't it?
Well, boxing is a very popular sport in North America. I'm not really that big of a fan, but I have seen a couple of matches, and it's very interesting because, as we saw in our dialogue, most big fights take place in Las Vegas at some big hotel.
Right, but you said it's super popular and everyone wants to watch these matches, and obviously everyone can't go to Las Vegas. So what's the common way for most people to watch these boxing matches?
Right, so in the United States, there's something very popular called pay-per-view, and I'm sure in your countries you have something similar. Basically, pay-per-view, you can buy the fight so you can have access to it and watch it on your TV.
But you only pay one time to watch like maybe 2 hours, right?
Right. So let's say you're at your house, it's 6 o'clock and the fight begins at 8. So you can call your TV cable company or maybe use on the internet with a credit card, and they activate it on your TV so you can watch the fight, and when it's over, well, you finished watching it.
Now, it's pretty expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, pay-per-view can be very expensive depending on what event it is, because sometimes it's boxing matches, concerts, or special events. So it can maybe cost, I don't know, $60, $80, maybe $100. So it's very popular for one house to buy the pay-per-view, and then many friends come over and everyone chips in with $5 or $10 and everyone watches it on one TV.
All right, so the pay-per-view boxing party, a common way to watch the sport in America.
Exactly.
Now, why don't you guys visit our website and tell us about boxing? Do you guys like it? Do you know anything about it? Are you guys maybe even boxers yourselves?
Or former boxers. All right, so we'll see you guys at our website. And also, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them there as well.
You can find us at englishpod.com. And until next time, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A plastic protective piece placed inside the mouth to protect the teeth.
Mouth guard.
Causes horror or disgust.
Gruesome.
To prepare to fight.
Square off.
Shorts worn for swimming or athletics.
Trunks.
Land.
Land.
An elasticated belt with a pouch to support the genitals, worn by male athletes.
Jockstrap.
Avoid being hit by something.
Dodges.
A quick, strong blow with the head.
Headbutt.
Hit hard multiple times.
Pounded.
An illegal blow below the waist.
Low blow.
Let's try that faster.
To prepare to fight.
Square off.
Hit hard multiple times.
Pounded.
Land.
Land.
An illegal blow below the waist.
Low blow.
Causes horror or disgust.
Gruesome.
A quick, strong blow with the head.
Headbutt.
An elasticated belt with a pouch to support the genitals, worn by male athletes.
Jockstrap.
Avoid being hit by something.
Dodges.
Shorts worn for swimming or athletics.
Trunks.
A plastic protective piece placed inside the mouth to protect the teeth.
Mouth guard.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Gruesome.
Last night's match was one of the most gruesome fights I've ever seen. Both fighters were bleeding heavily.
Gruesome.
Wow, that is one gruesome looking cut. You might need to go to the doctor and get stitches.
Gruesome.
The police described the scene of the crime in gruesome detail.
Square off.
The two countries are moving their armies close to the borders as they prepare to square off in a border dispute.
Square off.
Italy and Brazil are squaring off in the final game this afternoon.
Square off.
Lisa and Daniel squared off against each other in the marketing meeting today. They were both pretty angry.
Land.
Wow, Apollo just landed an impressive right hook to Rocky's ribs. That's going to hurt.
Land.
Hey, I didn't lose too badly in the fight yesterday. I landed a few good punches here and there.
Land.
Land an uppercut while he moves closer to you, and you will be sure to win the fight.
Dodges.
See that guy dodging through the traffic? He's going to get hit by a car if he's not careful.
Dodges.
Well, the storm turned south, so it looks like we managed to dodge a bullet.
Dodges.
Look, you're the one who is in charge of sales, and the numbers are down. It's your problem, so stop trying to dodge your responsibilities.
Pounded.
If you say one more thing about my mother, I'm going to pound you.
Pounded.
Rocky was knocked out in the 5th round. He was getting pounded all night long.
Pounded.
I don't think that movie is going to win any awards. It was pounded by the critics.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another great podcast here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics, as always.
Food.
Food. We're going to be at a restaurant.
And, one of the most difficult or embarrassing things to deal with at a restaurant is what to say when you don't like the food or when it's bad quality food.
Right. So maybe we have to complain about the food or maybe even the service, right?
That's right. And in this lesson, we're going to be learning some really wonderful words and phrases that you can use when you need to complain about the food or the service in a restaurant.
Okay, so before we listen to what happens in this restaurant with this food, let's take a look very quickly at vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Okay, we're only going to do one word today, and this you'll hear in the dialogue. An establishment.
Establishment.
This kind of establishment.
Okay, so when I say an establishment, that's a noun. What is an establishment?
It's basically a fancy word for a business or a restaurant in this case.
In this case, it's a restaurant.
Yep.
But in general, you can say it's a business. So you have a very fine establishment.
That's right. So an establishment, a type of business, a place of business, really.
Very good. All right, so now it's time for us to listen to our dialogue. We're going to find out what's going on here. Apparently, there is a very angry customer, and we're going to find out why.
Excuse me, waiter.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes, and no one has offered me a glass of water, brought any bread to the table, and our appetizers haven't been served yet. In this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll check on your order right away.
Relax, honey. The place is busy tonight, and I've heard the food is amazing. Anyway.
Here you are, sir. The foie gras for the lady and a mushroom soup for you.
Waiter! I ordered a cream of mushroom soup with asparagus. The soup is obviously too runny, and it's over-seasoned. It's completely inedible.
Okay, I do apologize for that. Can I bring you another soup, or would you like to order something else?
Take this foie gras back as well. It's rubbery and completely overcooked. And look at the portion size. How can you charge $25 for a sliver of duck liver?
Right away, sir.
Honey, come on. The foie gras was fine. Why are you making such a big deal? Are you trying to get our meal comped again?
What do you mean? We are paying for this, and I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks. I expect value for money.
Here you are, sir. I hope it is all right now. The chef has prepared it especially for you.
Yes, fine.
Honey,
Are you all right? Well, I guess that's one lesson, hey? If you're in a restaurant, don't be too rude to the waiter. You never know what's going to happen.
The waiter and the cook, right?
Yeah, you don't want to offend that kitchen staff.
All right, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but now I think we had some really interesting vocabulary of how to describe food that is not well prepared, and we can take a look at that now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, so the guy in this dialogue, he ordered a mushroom soup, and he complained that the mushroom soup was too runny.
Okay, the soup is too runny.
Runny.
So he wanted a cream of mushroom, so it should be a little bit thicker.
Yep.
But in this case, it was runny.
So when something is runny, it's too liquid.
Too liquid. And I think we can relate it to a runny nose, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when liquid is coming out of your nose, a runny nose, in this case, the soup is runny.
All right. And another thing that he was complaining about, the food was over-seasoned.
Over-seasoned.
The food is over-seasoned.
Okay, so if the food is over-seasoned,
it's too salty.
So it's another way of saying it's too salty.
Yeah, it's kind of a fancy a cooking term.
Now, can I say if there's too much pepper in the food, can I say it's over-seasoned?
Well, technically, no. When a cook says something is over-seasoned, he's talking salt only.
Only salt, okay. Mm-hmm. So the cream of mushroom is very runny, it's over-seasoned, and he said it's completely inedible.
Inedible.
It's inedible.
Inedible.
Now, this word edible.
You can eat it.
You can eat it. So we add this prefix inedible.
You cannot eat it.
This is not possible.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that physically you can't eat it. It just means it's pretty disgusting.
Okay. This food is inedible.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to complain about the other dish. And he said that it's rubbery.
Rubbery.
The foie gras was rubbery.
All right. So I think we noticed the word rubber.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if a food is rubbery, it tastes, or it's too chewy. It's like chewing on the bottom of your shoe, right?
Okay, so it's too hard to chew or to swallow.
Exactly.
All right. Apparently, the food was rubbery because it's completely overcooked.
Overcooked.
All right, we have overcooked.
So when something is overcooked, I mean, it's easy to understand that it's cooked too much.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it's burnt, right?
No, so maybe you've ordered your steak to be rare, but it comes to you well done. So it's not burnt, but it's cooked too much.
So also I guess we can say like chicken. Sometimes if you overcook chicken, it comes out too dry.
Yep.
All right, so to overcook something.
Mm-hmm. And finally, he was complaining about the size of the dish, and he said, this is a sliver of duck liver.
Okay, a sliver.
A sliver.
All right. Now, this word sliver is like a slice, right?
A very small, tiny little slice.
Okay, so we can say, okay, I just want a sliver of bacon for breakfast.
All right, why don't we hear a few more examples of how we can use sliver?
Example 1.
No, John's on a diet. He'll just have a sliver of cake and no ice cream.
Example 2.
I'm really full, but it looks so delicious. Can you just cut me a sliver?
Example 3.
You call this sliver of beef on my plate a meal? There's almost nothing here.
And those are all the words we had for language takeaway. Now you have... So we've given you different adjectives of describing food that is not well prepared. So now let's move on to some other phrases that the customer used to complain in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, so before we get to the customer complaining language, I want to look at a phrase that the waiter used to apologize. He said, I do apologize.
I do apologize.
I do apologize.
Now, why is this phrase so interesting?
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy to understand the meaning, but I want to look at why he added this verb do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he added the verb do to this phrase to make it seem a little bit stronger, to give a little more power to his apology.
Right. So if you have an affirmative phrase like I apologize.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah.
But if you want to give it a little bit more emphasis, you can say, I do apologize.
Why don't we give an example? So I might say this. Marco, I didn't know we had a party tonight.
And I might say, what? I did tell you about it last week.
Right, so you're just giving a little bit more power to the statement that you told me.
So this do, did, does becomes an auxiliary to make it more powerful, to give it more emphasis.
Yeah, exactly. So a neat little phrase, something you can use if you want to make your apologies sound maybe a little bit stronger.
All right. Now moving on to the next phrase. He was complaining about the food and it was terrible, and he said, I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks.
Okay, let's break this one down into two sections. We'll start with shelling out.
All right, so to shell out.
So when you shell out, you pay for something.
All right, but this gives you the sensation that you don't really want to pay.
You're a bit unhappy about it.
Right, so you want to shell out your money.
Why don't we listen to some examples to show us how we can use this phrase to shell out?
Example 1.
Great. It's my girlfriend's birthday this month, so I'm going to have to shell out for a present.
Example 2.
I really want those shoes, but I can't really afford to shell out $400.
Example 3.
I can't believe it. Ella shelled out the $800 for the tickets. I thought I would have to pay.
All right, so now that we understand shell out, let's move on to the second part of that sentence. My hard-earned bucks.
Hard-earned bucks.
My hard-earned bucks.
Okay, so bucks are dollars, right?
Dollars. Only dollars, right?
Yeah, not pounds, not euros. But his hard-earned bucks is money he had to work really hard for.
So I can also say my hard-earned money, right? Or my hard-earned cash.
Exactly.
Very good. So you worked hard to get it.
All right, so three great phrases that can be used when you're complaining in a restaurant. And why don't we hear them one last time in context by listening to the dialogue?
Excuse me, waiter.
Yes, sir? What can I do for you?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes, and no one has offered me a glass of water, brought any bread to the table, and our appetizers haven't been served yet. You know, in this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll check on your order right away.
Relax, honey. The place is busy tonight, and I've heard the food is amazing. Anyway.
Here you are, sir. The foie gras for the lady and a mushroom soup for you.
Waiter! I ordered a cream of mushroom soup with asparagus. The soup is obviously too runny, and it's over-seasoned. It's completely inedible.
Okay, I do apologize for that. Can I bring you another soup, or would you like to order something else?
Take this foie gras back as well. It's rubbery and completely overcooked. And look at the portion size. How can you charge $25 for a sliver of duck liver?
Right away, sir.
Honey, come on. The foie gras was fine. Why are you making such a big deal? Are you trying to get our meal comped again?
What do you mean? We are paying for this, and I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks. I expect value for money.
Here you are, sir. I hope it is all right now. The chef has prepared it especially for you.
Yes, fine.
Honey, are you all right?
So complaining at a restaurant and actually sending food back is not uncommon in the U.S.
Yeah, of course. If the food's bad, of course you're going to send it back.
But maybe in other cultures, I think people would be a little bit more reluctant to do something like this.
Yeah. But hey, you know what's an interesting thing about the way Americans eat in restaurants is sometimes at the end of the meal, if they haven't finished everything, they might ask for a doggy bag.
A doggy bag, yeah.
Yeah. So what is that, a doggy bag?
Well, usually if you order a big meal or, half your steak is left over on your plate, you would ask for a doggy bag and they would bring you a little box or a bag and you would take it to supposedly give it to your dog.
Right. So it's sort of like you tell the waiter, the steak was so good, I couldn't finish it. Can I take some home to my dog?
Right. So you would just ask, waiter, can I have a doggy bag?
Right. But it's sort of like code for I'm going to eat this tomorrow for lunch.
Exactly, because people wouldn't really give it to their dogs.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, that steak wrapped up in a fancy sort of foil swan is going to be pretty delicious the next day.
right. Yeah, it's actually very common in the US, but in other countries, people will leave entire plates of food on the
it'd
table.
be totally impolite to ask the waiter to pack up the food for you.
Exactly.
Yep.
So a little bit of cultural differences, but we want to know what you think and how things are done maybe in your country with complaining or sending food back or even this whole doggy bag situation.
That's right. Why don't you visit our website, englishpod.com, and tell us about it.
All right. We'll be there to answer any questions or comments, but we got to go now. So until then.
Goodbye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A bad second taste.
A bad aftertaste.
A strong, unpleasant taste that is opposite of sweet.
Bitter.
A strong, unpleasant smell.
Rank.
A rotten taste or smell.
Rancid.
Not appealing, not attractive or tasty.
Unappealing.
Little dish people have before meal.
Appetizer.
Place of business like a restaurant or hotel.
Establishment.
Work done by someone to serve customers.
Service.
The list containing your choices of dishes.
Order.
A food made from the livers of geese.
Foie gras.
More liquid than expected.
Runny.
Too salty.
Overseasoned.
Cannot be eaten.
Inedible.
Difficult to chew.
Rubbery.
Be cooked over time.
Overcooked.
The amount of food that is served to a person.
Portion size.
A small, thin piece.
Sliver.
Get very upset about something small.
Make a big deal.
Be given to customers for free.
Comp.
To spend money.
Shell out.
Money you work hard for.
Hard earned.
Let's try that faster.
Work done by someone to serve customers.
Service.
Place of business like a restaurant or hotel.
Establishment.
More liquid than expected.
Runny.
The amount of food that is served to a person.
Portion size.
A strong, unpleasant smell.
Rank.
Difficult to chew.
Rubbery.
Too salty.
Overseasoned.
Not appealing, not attractive or tasty.
Unappealing.
Be given to customers for free.
Comp.
Get very upset about something small.
Make a big deal.
A strong, unpleasant taste that is opposite of sweet.
Bitter.
A bad second taste.
A bad aftertaste.
A food made from the livers of geese.
Foie gras.
The list containing your choices of dishes.
Order.
Be cooked over time.
Overcooked.
Cannot be eaten.
Inedible.
To spend money.
Shell out.
Money you work hard for.
Hard earned.
A rotten taste or smell.
Rancid.
A small thin piece.
Sliver.
Little dish people have before meal.
Appetizer.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Inedible.
This fish tastes terrible. It's completely inedible.
Inedible.
If you leave meat out of the refrigerator for too long, it will be inedible.
Inedible.
Are you sure you can eat that? Aren't the flower decorations on cakes inedible?
Rubbery.
This steak is so rubbery I can barely chew it.
Rubbery.
If the meat is so rubbery, why don't you send it back?
Rubbery.
The foie gras is so rubbery, I bet it would bounce on the floor if I dropped it.
Sliver.
No, John's on a diet. He'll just have a sliver of cake and no ice cream.
Sliver.
I'm really full, but it looks so delicious. Can you just cut me a sliver?
Sliver.
You call this sliver of beef on my plate a meal? There's almost nothing here.
Hard earned.
Doesn't it feel good when you use your hard-earned bucks to buy something you've always wanted?
Hard earned.
I refuse to spend my hard-earned bucks on someone who won't appreciate it.
Hard earned.
Richard is such a great guy. Every year he would donate his hard-earned bucks to a different charity. I can't believe I got a parking ticket yesterday. Now I'm going to have to shell out $75. It's me and my girlfriend's 5-year anniversary on Saturday, so I'm going to shell out for a nice dinner and a pair of nice earrings. Tommy loved to party. Last night he shelled out $300 buying people drinks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great lesson with us here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be talking about an ER, an emergency room.
Exactly. We're bringing you our very own ER drama here at English Pod.
Yeah, doctor shows are very popular with people, medical terms and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to teach you some words that you might hear commonly in medical shows on TV or in movies. This is really common language in television.
Or even at a hospital, right?
Well, yeah, but let's hope our listeners don't have to face this.
Okay, so let's preview some words in vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
All right, so what's our first word?
Okay, the first word is CPR.
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 So that's pretty easy. What does that mean?
Well, it's short for cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
Okay.
If that means anything to you.
Well, cardio is related to the heart.
Uh-huh.
Pulmonary refers to the lungs.
Yep.
Resuscitation means to come back to life.
Yes. So basically CPR is, you know when someone stops breathing, you put your mouth on their mouth and you breathe inside their lungs?
Okay, to give them air.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So CPR.
That's CPR. Okay. So let's take a look at our next word. BP.
BP.
So BP is short for
blood pressure.
Blood pressure. That's
Yeah.
just the way that doctors use it in the emergency room.
Exactly. Pretty simple.
Okay, so blood pressure. And our last word, acute respiratory failure.
Acute respiratory failure.
So what is that exactly? That sounds complicated.
Basically, it's really serious that you stop breathing.
You stop breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go into acute respiratory failure, then the doctor or somebody has to perform CPR.
Right.
All right, cool. Okay, so we've previewed these 3 great words. Now let's listen to our dialogue for the first time. It's going to be really fast and you're going to have a lot of drama in it, so don't worry if you don't understand everything.
Yeah, we're going to come back and teach you some of the important language.
Help! Are you a doctor? My poor little Frankie has just stopped breathing. Oh my gosh, help me. I tried to perform CPR, but I don't know if I could get any air into his lungs. Oh, Frankie!
Ellen, get him hooked up to a monitor. Somebody page Dr. Hauser. Get the patient to hold still. I can't get a pulse. Okay, he's on the monitor. His BP's falling. He's flatlining.
No! Frankie! Doctor, do something!
Someone get her out of here. Get me the defibrillator. Okay, clear? Again, clear? Come on, damn it, I'm not letting go of you. Clear! I got a pulse.
Okay, what's happening?
Patient is in acute respiratory failure. I think we're going to have to intubate.
All right, tubes in. Bag him. Somebody give him 10 cc's shot of adrenaline. Let's go. People, move, move.
Doctor, oh, thank God. How is he?
We've managed to stabilize Frankie, but he's not out of the woods yet. He's still in critical condition. We're moving him to intensive care, but...
Doctor, just do whatever it takes. I just want my little Frankie to be okay. I couldn't imagine life without my little hamster.
Wow, so much drama over a little hamster.
Yeah, a little pet, hey?
A little pet, the little hamster.
Well, you know what? I can relate to this owner, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, I know you have a really good story about this.
Yeah, but in the meantime, let's look at some great language in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, so let's take a look at our first word. Intubate.
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 So this is a medical procedure.
Exactly. When a patient can't breathe properly, sometimes the doctor takes a long tube and puts it into their mouth and down their pipes, I guess, down their breathing tube.
Right.
So that they can breathe better.
Okay, so that's to intubate.
Yes.
Okay, so once they've intubated the patient, they start to bag him.
Yeah, bag him.
Bag him.
Bag him.
Does that mean they like put a bag over the person's head or something?
No. So there's a bag attached to this intubation tube, and you squeeze it to put air into the lungs.
Okay, so you squeeze this bag and it puts air through the tube.
I think this is just medical slang.
Yeah, I guess bag him.
Yeah, but you hear it all the time on TV, so it's important our listeners know it.
Okay. Let's look at our next word. Critical condition.
Critical condition.
Critical condition.
The patient's in critical condition.
This condition means it's serious.
Right. If a patient is in critical condition, they're either really, really hurt or really, really sick, and they could die pretty soon.
Okay. So you don't want to be in critical condition.
No.
Let's take a look at our next word. Stabilize.
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 So when the doctors stabilize a patient, they take that patient out of danger.
Exactly. When a patient is stabilized, they probably won't die in 5 minutes.
Okay.
But they could still be really sick. They could be in critical condition, right?
But it's under control.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stabilize.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at our last word. ICU.
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 Intensive care unit.
Okay, that's what it means. Intensive care unit.
Yep.
So that's the place where patients who are in critical condition are taken.
Right.
So what's the difference between an ICU and a regular room?
Well, I don't know. I've never been in one. But I think like patients are monitored regularly. And I think there's, maybe there are more nurses and fewer patients. There's just a higher level of care.
A higher level of care.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it's time for us to listen to our dialogue again. Now try to catch all of these medical terms that we've just talked about, and then we'll come back and explain a few phrases.
Help! Are you a doctor? My poor little Frankie has just stopped breathing. Oh my gosh, help me. I tried to perform CPR, but I don't know if I could get any air into his lungs. Oh, Frankie.
Ellen, get him hooked up to a monitor. Somebody page Dr. Hauser. Get the patient hold still. I can't get a pulse. Okay, he's on the monitor. His BP's falling. He's flatlining.
No! Frankie! Doctor, do something!
Someone get her out of here. Get me the defibrillator. Okay, clear? Again, clear? Come on, damn it, I'm not letting go of you. Clear! I've got a pulse.
Okay, what's happening?
The patient is in acute respiratory failure. I think we're going to have to intubate.
All right, tubes in. Bag him. Somebody give him 10 cc's shot of adrenaline. Let's go. People, move, move.
Doctor, oh, thank God. How is he?
We've managed to stabilize Frankie, but he's not out of the woods yet. He's still in critical condition. We're moving him to intensive care, but...
Doctor, just do whatever it takes. I just want my little Frankie to be okay. I couldn't imagine life without my little hamster.
Okay, so there are some really good phrasal verbs in this dialogue.
Yeah, a couple of good phrasal verbs.
Okay, so let's take a look at these phrasal verbs in putting it together.
Putting it together.
All right, so what's our first phrasal verb today?
Hook up.
Hook up.
Hook up.
So to hook up.
So when we talk about hooking something up, we are usually talking about electronics, right, Marco?
Yeah, you usually hook up your TV or your computer.
Yeah.
So why don't we listen to some examples of how we would use hook up?
Example 1.
I finally got a Nintendo Wii. Come on, help me hook it up to the TV.
Example 2.
I don't know how to hook up this new DVD player. Can you help me?
Example 3.
I just hooked up my new HD TV. Want to come over and watch a movie?
Great. So you can see that there are a few different variations of this pattern here with the word hook up because it's a phrasal verb.
Exactly.
And I think the same patterns can apply to our next phrasal verb.
Hold still.
Hold still.
Hold still.
Hold still.
So the doctor needed the patient to hold still.
Right, to stop moving.
Stop moving, exactly. Okay, let's listen to some more examples of hold still because, again, it's a really great phrasal verb that you can change up a little bit.
Example 1.
If you don't hold still, I can't see if you have something in your eye.
Example 2.
Hold still while she cuts your hair, or else she might make a mistake.
Example 3.
Hold still. You have a bee on your back.
Okay, hold still. Great word.
Yep. All right, one final phrase for you. Out of the woods.
Out of the woods.
Out of the woods.
Out of the woods.
So when someone's out of the woods, they're...
Free from danger.
Safe.
Okay, safe.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of a saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out of the woods.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
free. I'm safe.
I guess there are two variants of this phrase. We can say, I'm out of the woods, or we're out of the woods, or I guess we're not out of the woods yet.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So, okay. Out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now it's time for us to listen to our dialogue again. And when we come back, Eric is going to tell us about her ER story.
Help! Are you a doctor? My poor little Frankie has just stopped breathing. Oh my gosh, help me. I tried to perform CPR, but I don't know if I could get any air into his lungs. Oh, Frankie!
Helen, get him hooked up to a monitor. Somebody page Dr. Hauser. Get the patient to hold still. I can't get a pulse. Okay, he's on the monitor. His BP's falling. He's flatlining.
No! Frankie! Doctor, do something!
Someone get her out of here. Get me the defibrillator. Okay, clear? Again, clear? Come on, damn it, I'm not letting go of you. Clear! I got a pulse.
Okay, what's happening?
Patient is in acute respiratory failure. I think we're going to have to intubate.
All right, tubes in. Bag him. Somebody give him 10 cc's shot of adrenaline. Let's go. People, move, move.
Doctor, oh, thank God. How is he?
We've managed to stabilize Frankie, but he's not out of the woods yet. He's still in critical condition. We're moving him to intensive care, but...
Doctor, just do whatever it takes. I just want my little Frankie to be okay. I couldn't imagine life without my little hamster.
Okay, Erica, so what happened? What emergency did you have?
Well, it was with my cat.
Your cat.
Yes. I had some people over for dinner, and it was maybe 1:30 in the morning, and I went downstairs to let them out and show them where the taxis were. And then I came up, and I saw that the cat was gone. And it turned out that the cat fell out of the window.
Fell out of the window.
Yeah.
All right, but our listeners have to know, what story or what floor do you live on?
The 20th floor.
The 20th.
Yeah. So this is really dangerous, right?
That's really high up.
Yeah. So I went outside and I was calling for my cat and I was like, Mr. Finn, where are you?
How did you know he fell out?
I just knew.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mother's instinct.
I guess so.
Mm.
And so he was calling back to me, and so I picked him up and brought him to the house, and we had to bring him to the vet, and it was 2:30, 3 in the morning at this time, and the vet was like not very happy that we woke him up out of bed.
But that was a really good emergency, though.
Yeah. So anyway, we brought him to the vet. He was in critical condition for a couple of days, and then we had to keep him in the vet's ICU for about a week. He broke his back. He broke two of his legs.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and then at home on bed rest for another 3 weeks.
Wow.
But now he's good as new.
Good as new.
Yeah.
He used up one of his 7 lives.
Yes,
9 lives.
9? Yeah. I think maybe 8 of his 9
8.
lives.
He's only got 1 left.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting story. I guess that's the inspiration under this dialogue.
Exactly. Sometimes we Anglos really treat our cats and our hamsters and our dogs like they're our children.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Mr. Finn is okay and he's walking and good as new.
Yep, good as new.
So maybe our users have some stories about their pets
Yes.
being taken to the hospital.
I want to hear.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I've never had a pet actually break a leg or anything, so don't have any pet stories this time, but we want to hear what you think, so come to englishpod.com, leave all your questions and comments and your stories.
Yes.
And we'll be there to answer them.
Well, guys, thanks for listening, and until next time,
Goodbye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
CPR. Hookup. Pulse. BP. Flatline. Critical condition. ICU. ER. Defibrillator. Chest compressions.
Let's try that faster.
ICU. Critical condition. Defibrillator. Pulse. ER. Hookup. BP. Flatline. Chest compressions. CPR.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Hookup.
I finally got a Nintendo Wii. Come on, help me hook it up to the TV.
Hookup.
I don't know how to hook up this new DVD player. Can you help me?
Hookup.
I just hooked up my new HD TV. Want to come over and watch a movie? If you don't hold still, I can't see if you have something in your eye. Hold still while she cuts your hair, or else she might make a mistake. Hold still. You have a bee on your back. The patient is unconscious and not breathing. We have to intubate. His throat is obstructed and he's not breathing. We're going to have to intubate. Luckily, the doctors intubated me in time and pumped air into my lung. We need to stabilize the patient before we can put him in the ambulance. Your husband has been stabilized and the bleeding has stopped. The first person to treat an injured person must try and stabilize him before he can be moved.
Critical condition.
The patient is in critical condition, so we need to keep him here for a few weeks.
Critical condition.
Carl had a terrible car accident. He's now in the hospital in critical condition.
Critical condition.
The disease is very serious and the patient is now in critical condition.